Hello, I am Shelby Young, and this is our third group project on the ethics of genetic engineering and cloning, and I will be playing the role of utilitarianism.
Hi, my name is Valeria Chavez, and I'll be playing the role of relativism theory.
My name is Valeria Lavigno, and I'll be playing the role as feminist ethics.
My name is Kennedy McFadden, and I will be playing the role of Cantina Ethics.
This is our script.
Hey, have you guys seen these new dire wolf puppies that scientists were able to bring back from extinction? It's crazy how they've been able to recreate the genes of something that went extinct more than 10,000 years ago.
Yeah, I actually did see that. As a utilitarianist, it does make me wonder, though, what their motive and justifications are for bringing them back. Does it really make sense to do this? Is it actually benefiting anybody to bring them back? It seems like it takes and spends a lot of money to be able to do this, and what are we even doing it for?
Right, that's a good question that you bring up, Shelby. What makes you say that?
Well, utilitarianism believes that the ultimate goal of all actions should be to maximize happiness. While this experiment was technically successful, it makes me wonder whether the happiness it creates, like scientific progress or excitement, outweighs the potential harms, like ecological disruption. Would you say that your ethical view sees this differently?
Yeah, I think so. Personally, as a relativist, I'd say whether this is ethical really depends on the cultural and individual values surrounding the issues. Like, for instance, in some societies, playing with genetics might be seen as morally wrong, while in others, it's seen as progress. So, to me, it's not just about one universal right or wrong, it really depends on a number of things.
Interesting. From a canteen perspective, we'd have to ask, are you treating nature or even these animals merely as means to an end? A canteen ethics says moral action must respect rational being and fellow universal moral laws. I'd question whether cloning extinct animals respects those principles or if we're just doing it just because we can.
That's a really important point that you brought up, Kennedy. Feminist ethics might focus on the relationships involved and how this affects not just humans, but the ecosystems, animals, and future generations. We looked at who's impacted, who gets to make the decisions, and whether this reinforces power imbalances in science.
So, from a utilitarian lens, I would still ask, could this genetic engineering lead to medical breakthroughs or food security in the long run? If it does increase overall well-being, maybe it's justified, but how do we measure that benefit, as this seems like a really tough thing to do?
Yeah, well, that's tough to say. Personally, a relativist might respond that benefit itself is actually subjective. Like one culture might value scientific progress, or another might prioritize natural order. Can we really decide whose standards to use? I don't think so, generally. For instance, many religions like Christianity or Islam can be strictly against altering God given characteristics, while many Western cultures embrace scientific edits, and a lot of them don't see it as intervening with moral or religious beliefs like in the United States.
I'd argue we can. A Kant would say we need to act in a way that respects moral duty, not just feelings or outcomes. So even if cloning brings good results, if it's not rooted in moral duty or treating life instrumentally, it's unethical. Could happiness even override that duty?
But what about empathy and care? Feminist ethics would say that ethics isn't just about rules or outcomes, but how about we can care for others and the world? Are we nurturing our environment or are we dominating it? It shouldn't compassion be a part of this debate as well.
That's a powerful point, Val. I think a Kant would agree that respect for others, including future beings, is essential. Even though Kant focused on duty and rationality, he wasn't against compassion. He just believed that our actions should come from a place of moral principle, not just feeling. So maybe the question is, are we acting out of genuine moral duty, or are we just doing what feels good and looks impressive?
Exactly. And even if we have the best intentions, we still have to be aware of who holds it and who doesn't. Feminist ethics reminds us that people's experiences, especially those who are affected but not heard, matter in these conversations. We can't leave them out just because they aren't in the lab or writing the policies about it.
And even in utilitarianism, the happiness of the majority doesn't mean the suffering of a few is okay. It challenges us to think more deeply about the long-term impact and how evenly that happiness is distributed. So maybe ethics isn't just about outcomes, it's about who those outcomes really end up serving.
I like that perspective, Shelby. It makes it a lot more broad. I think that's why relativism is important too, because no matter how strong a theory is, different cultures and communities will still come to different conclusions based on what they value most. So, one group might see this technology as progress, while another can see it as a violation of nature. Neither is necessarily wrong, but they just have see the world differently.
So maybe a part of the ethical process is actually having a conversation like this where we can learn from each other's views instead of assuming one is right and only right.
I completely agree. Ethics isn't just a list of rules or calculations. It's a way of being in the world with awareness, care, and responsibility. The more we are able to talk about care and responsibility with one another, the better off that we are.